it does make all of this much more complex, which begs the question about how do we educate patients and referring physicians in order to improve recruitment? And who can help us? Are advocacy groups an important adjunct to that educational process? Are there others who can help us foster that learning that you talked about? How do we move this forward in a meaningful and an engaging way?
Yeah. That's a tough question, and specifically about enrolling in clinical trials. Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that we have to do is figure out how to make it more affordable and even more accessible. I know that in one of the large cancer centers in Boston is trying to push cancer clinical trials out into the community to make sure that patients can get access to trials, but with their local physicians under the guidance of the mothership. I think that's the biggest problem in our area in enrolling patients in clinical trials is they have to travel.
Well, and for us, part of what we've done is developed a network of 15 and growing community-based practices where we can offer these trials. And you know, I live in an area where there are 127 different spoken languages in the area, and in the top 5 are Armenian, Vietnamese, and Tagalog. So making sure that the materials are available in a format that patients can actually appreciate and understand so that they can move forward. It's tough to navigate, but it's, I think, part of the cost of doing that business.
Yeah.
So one of the challenges is, and I think we'll talk about it in a minute, is the NCI MATCH trial. So that's a trial that's active at the institution in which I see patients. There are 30 arms to that trial. This last week, within a 15-minute time span, I got in my email 60 different documents to review relating to the MATCH trial. And I am supposed to be required to be intimately knowledgeable in all of those different documents for 30 different arms of a trial. That's a huge barrier. And my response to that was take my name off the list of investigators because I cannot legitimately maintain that sort of expertise and knowledge on 30 different arms, realizing that the arms in that trial come and go. And so one of the things that I think that the regulatory environment needs to start to understand is that clinical investigation in today's medical world in the United States is a team sport.
Yeah.
There is no one that can know everything, but somebody needs to know a lot about different things so that the whole field is covered, but that it's an unrealistic expectation that a single individual can do that. And that's probably a very strong lesson from the TAPER trial and the MATCH trial that it's a team sport. And we need to recognize that and empower people other than the principal investigator at each institution and so forth to really be able to inform patients and to do some of the different regulatory activities.
So you've asked an important question, which is how do we manage through the complexity of all this? So, you know, the NCI MATCH trial is one in which patients whose tumors have not responded or are proven refractory to that therapeutic intervention are evaluated for existing mutations from biopsies and matched to what sounds like can be many, many trial arms. Do you see that as an advantage or a disadvantage of the trial? You've talked about a clear disadvantage, which is it creates a very, very complex, paper-heavy experience of trying to figure out as an investigator how this works. Is the flip side, by having that level of specificity, that you might learn something about a specific population of patients? Are there advantages to this trial design, or is it just a lot of complexity and paperwork? I'm looking at both of you.
From my perspective, it's all of the above. You know, we're learning how to do these multiple arm trials. It's very complex, but we have multiple arms because there are highly specific populations that we're targeting for those trials. And so I think we will learn more about those specific small populations, but it's much more complicated in order to be able to do that. And again, because the sample sizes are going to be smaller, the confidence that the result is a true result is going to be lower. And we're going to have to recognize that and figure out ways to correct for that if we make the wrong inference from the data that we have.
I guess from my vantage point,
Please.
I'm not an expert in making sausage. We've got very competent people who are. I want to make sure at the end of the day that the sausage is high quality sausage, and I have to rely on people other than health plan medical directors to provide insight to that.